Welcome to the System Simplified podcast, where we feature top leaders who share stories on how to successfully systemize a business. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hello, Eddie Klevit here, the host of the System Simplified podcast, where I feature top founders, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders about systematizing a business. And today's episode is being brought to you by Business Success Consulting Group, where we create, document, optimize, and implement processes and procedures so businesses can grow and thrive. And today's guest is a recurring guest, and I am so happy to have you back on the podcast, Ryan Redding. And Ryan, I think this is your third appearance, but in a different role.
Is that right?
I think so.
That's crazy. It is so good to be back. The fact that we have known each other for as long as we have. You've been on my podcast. I've been on yours apparently 3 times now, which is crazy. Super cool. It's such a pleasure for me.
Thank you. And of course, we need to give a big shout out to the one and only Dr. Jeremy Wise from Rise 25, who actually introduced me to podcasting and then introduced us. And Jeremy is just a master of creating very long-lasting relationships.
So good with connecting people. He really is. I mean, like, if anyone has a superpower, like, that's his. He's really good at connecting the right people.
That is absolutely true. So thank you, Jeremy, once again. All right, Ryan, well, first of all, I'm going to introduce you, read your bio, because that's what we do.
Sure.
So you are the founder of Eightfold Advantage, where you help businesses break out of growth plateaus and build teams that don't rely on the owner to hold everything together. You built and sold Levergy in 2025 to Kick Charge Creative, later serving as CMO and equity partner, and still sits on the board. After 15 plus years working with companies from 5 million to 150 million, you're focused on one thing: helping leaders build businesses that grow sustainably and don't require 80-hour weeks to keep them alive. So that's amazing. It's definitely, I mean, you lived it. You built an amazing agency and you sold it. So it is the dream come true of every entrepreneur. You did a successful exit, and now you're helping others do the same.
Yes, it is absolutely the coolest, most fulfilling journey ever. Because I know so many people building a business is hard on its own. Selling a business is hard on its own. And so to be able to take all my experience and all my kind of hard knocks and help other people learn through those and kind of build businesses that serve them instead of feel like a prison or a trap, which for a lot of people is what the businesses become over time. It's an absolute joy for me. It is the coolest thing ever.
That's amazing. Absolutely incredible. So Ryan, let's talk about your journey. So you started your business, not Levergy, right? The one you sold. When did you start it?
I started it, I think, in 2016, I believe. So coming up on just shy of 10 years, the timestamp this. Yeah.
So when you started, how many employees did you have?
Oh, none. It was just me. It was me as a side hustle. So I had a 9 to 5, and then this was something I was doing on the side just for some extra spending cash. So,
and what does the business do? What did you do in Levergy?
So Levergy, by the time I sold it, was a full service digital marketing agency. So everything from websites to SEO to AdWords to social media to reputation management. And we specialize primarily for home service companies. So think plumbing, HVAC, roofing, electrical, garage door, things like that. That was the bulk of our clientele. And the clients we worked with were all over the US and Canada, Australia, and UK. And then our team was also fully distributed and remote. So that's, by the time Levergy is fully mature and kind of fully up and running, that's what we were doing. We were full service digital.
That's amazing. So when did you, year one, how many employees did you have?
Oh, 0. I probably had 0 employees probably for the first couple years. And then it was at one point where I was realizing, oh, I'm actually growing fast enough and I'm getting enough out of the business that it can replace my 9 to 5. And I had contractors helping with stuff, but I didn't at the time really know how to leverage contractor talent really well. But I had people that I would hey, I'm stuck in meetings all day at my 8 to 5. So can you do this for me while I'm in the meeting? So I just pay people for for their labor. So yeah, but I had zero employees probably for the first couple years. And then it ended up peaking. It's probably somewhere around 2020, 2021 with about 70-ish employees. So between like 2016 and 2020, let's
The
call it like a
70
four-year
people
gap.
that you hired
Yeah,
within, wow.
it was a lot. It was a it
Yeah,
was
sounds
a
that way.
it was a haul.
Yes. And then, but then when you sold it, how many employees did you have?
I whittled it down to 24. Primarily through the help of AI. We were able to like fully deploy AI in various aspects, like operational roles within the business. And so I was able to upgrade the people we had to have a higher caliber people, pay them better, and leverage AI for a lot of the kind of mundane, clerical, routine, autonomous, predictive stuff that was easy to do. So I didn't need a whole lot of like a mass pool of like low talent, mediocre cost labor. I could focus my effort on having better talent with a higher caliber, pay them better, and let AI carry kind of the more boring parts of the roles. It was kind of a fun transition.
So how did you figure out how to replace it with AI? Was that you that did the majority of the research? Did you hire an AI expert? How did it happen?
No, so I will. The weird thing for me is I remember talking to people like on my podcast. I remember talking to people and they were talking about how AI is going to come and change everything. And at the time, I remember feeling like, yeah, probably not. Right? It just felt like a lot of like um,
Hype.
people getting hyped about stuff or maybe like fear mongering. It didn't ever feel plausible. And then GTP 3.5 Turbo came out. And on that particular version, that was the first time where I felt like the actual development with AI went from kind of like cool research project where like it can help you do some things to like no, now there's actually a business use case for what this tech is capable of doing. And when I started doing more and more research on like the development of AI and kind of going back for several years trying to actually see where the funding was going, who was actually investing in the development, how it was progressing, it became really, really clear that the amount of progress that AI happened, and let's call it 17 months, was greater than what happened from when the Wright brothers first invented and figured out how to fly to when we put people on the moon. So the amount of technological development that happened in a 17-month window was just, it had not happened at any point in human history. So I ended up taking that sort of like insight of going, oh my gosh, this is going to disrupt our business and likely every business in every industry across the planet because of just the way that this technology is poised to disrupt things. So I actually went. It was our annual initiative. I went to a staff meeting. It was our first staff meeting of the year in 2022 or 2023. Don't quote me on that. And I went and I said, I kind of walked through. I spent about 15 minutes walking through the developments of AI. Here's what's happening. This is where we were, and this is how governments are starting to think about this, and here's what it's capable of doing. And I basically said at the end of that, for the remainder of this year, everyone's job here is to figure out either A, how to meaningfully incorporate AI into their job role. Like it's not optional. You have to figure out how to use all this tech or come up with a really, 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 really well documented reason while it doesn't make sense to do that. And so I put it on my team to essentially skunkworks their own work. So I didn't want to tell them how to do things. Because the way the AI works, it's so big and it's iterating so fast, not one person can possibly figure out the best way to deploy that sort of tool in various departments. So I let the teams do it. And they had weekly meetings, they had cohorts, they were able to do projects, and they were able to do challenges. They were able to present white papers about proposals of like, here's something we could do to replace our current job function, but here's something we can do if we were able to take all this task off of our plate on the day to day. Here's now how we could focus our time, effort, energy. And it was the coolest thing because it kind of unlocked everyone's ability to think about not AI as a scary boogeyman who's coming to take your job, but AI is like has the ability to make your work life more sustainable, less chaotic. And if they could do a 40-hour work week in 5 hours a week, like awesome. You are rewarded now with an extra weekend. Like you just earn that time back. You don't get punished by getting more work thrown at you. So the more we're able to lean on the tech, the more we're able to make it not something to be afraid of, the more we're able to like kind of take away the stigma of using AI. It really changed how the entire team thought about it, how our clients thought about it. Because now we're not like afraid of how it's going to disrupt. It's like, no, it's going to disrupt, but we're going to figure out how to use this tool really, really well. And it's on us to figure out how does this make sense for our company, for our industry, for our clients, so that it has the most possible good. It was a really fun initiative for that year.
That's amazing. So how, you had a marketing agency and you sold it to another agency.
Mhm.
Now, you can have our listeners listening and go, oh yeah, AI is probably in marketing agencies is one of the areas where they are going to AI is going to take over because I can make a website using AI. I can write my newsletter using AI. I can probably write ad content. I mean, I can do a lot of things using
Yeah.
AI and agents. So why do I need a marketing agency?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And the best way to think about it is there's a story from Abraham Lincoln. I don't know if it's true or not, but I always hear the story attributed to Abraham Lincoln where he basically says if he's given an hour to chop down a tree, he'll spend the first 45 minutes sharpening his axe. And kind of the idea is don't just go out and start swinging and start doing stuff and trying to throw a lot of stuff at the wall. Like spend the time really refining the tool that you have to make the work more efficient and more elegant. And so my point is on that AI is probably the sharpest axe that the world has ever known, but that doesn't take away our ability to know where to hit the tree and how to swing the axe. So we still have to bring that knowledge with us. It's not a license to turn off our brain, it's a requirement and obligation to turn on our brain. So especially in marketing, there's a whole lot of things it's fantastic. A lot of the grunt, tedious, like more analysis sort of work that AI can do, they would normally take somebody 2 or 3 days. Now somebody who actually knows how to use the tool well can probably do it in 45 minutes. It's just a really amazing resource freeing tool that we never had the ability to have. So now that I've got that extra time, I can actually do things that humans can do better. And in marketing space, guess what? That's creativity. That's writing with human specific content. Because no matter how good, I've seen a whole hell of a lot of prompts from a whole lot of different AI bots. All of them feel like AI when you read them. But the ones that are human, the ones that kind of like have this pulse and have this narrative and kind of feel this emotional connection, those things AI is going to have a really hard time replacing. So if anything is like really trying to connect with like an emotional journey or kind of a sentiment of what an end user will feel or experience, AI can do a lot of the kind of clerical back end analysis sort of work that's time consuming and detail oriented. I have not yet seen AI make a compelling case for writing compelling copy or designing beautiful logos that stand out in the marketplace. Even the websites are actually really awesome, but websites are kind of utilitarian function. Like they're no one's going to go off and like, look at this amazing website. Nobody cares. It's about connecting with the customer, right? So if the
I
customers
think
don't
you
feel,
do. You do have to have like, you go on the website and you go like it is a
yeah,
professional website that does you get
yeah,
that emotional connection you're talking about through aesthetics.
yeah, you have to be able to get that. But it's also like the narrative. Like people don't read websites, right? They skim. So AI doesn't quite get that memo. Right now, AI is like, I'm just going to throw a bunch of stuff in there that I've kind of regurgitated from all this other stuff. It really takes kind of a thoughtful sort of element to actually go through and put, I don't want to say sweat equity or heart, but like marketing at the end of the day is human first and human last. It's about the humans. And so we can use robots to kind of augment some of the work and the fulfillment of that. But removing the humans from a human first, human last process is probably the least effective thing you could possibly imagine doing. It just doesn't work really well.
That's true. So it doesn't seem like there is going to be the death of the marketing agencies. On the contrary, it's probably those marketing agencies that excel, that are really good, are the ones who are going to survive because and thrive because there will be more of a need for it.
Yeah, the way that I told our team is marketing agencies won't be killed by AI, but marketing agencies who know how to use AI will kill marketing agencies that don't.
Yeah.
So it becomes one of these things of it's just as necessary now as like Excel would be to an accountant, right? I could not possibly imagine doing complex math formulas with a finance calculator. Like I can do it, but I'd rather not, especially when there's Excel. And so AI to me is like just a really amazing version of Excel that's capable of so much more.
Exactly. It's a tool and you need to know how to use the tool. So I think we
Yeah.
can evolve everything in our civilization, in our world by using the AI.
Hmm.
So, but now you're helping people get to the level. You're doing basically, you're consulting, coaching them in order to get to similar, to excel, scale, and grow sustainably.
Yeah.
The same argument can be used here. Well, why would I use a coach as opposed to ask ChatGPT questions and have it answer me and tell me how awesome I am, and that other business owners encounter that similar problem, and I'm going to tell you how to solve it.
Yeah, that is actually one of my favorite questions ever, because I actually just wrote, was it last week or 2 weeks ago? I just wrote a blog on this exact topic.
Yeah, would AI replace your
Yeah,
business consulting? Maybe.
because there's a really good case for if you need knowledge, if you're like, hey, I need help, what's the praxis framework and how do I apply the praxis framework in my business? There's not a better tool out there than AI to provide that information. The problem primarily comes in two big issues. One is it's still AI requires humans to have to know what to ask for, right? So if you don't know what praxis is or EOS is, you don't know how to ask for it. And AI is not really good at generative sort of thinking about like, hey, based on what you're describing, this is probably the framework that actually makes sense for you. The other thing is that at the end of the day, most operating systems, most coaching or consultant practices are based on accountability. At the end of the day, it's this is what you committed to do. Did you actually do what you committed to do? And accountability is a social mechanism.
Yes.
Robots can be used for all sorts of things to facilitate this, but at the end of the day, AI cannot sit in the room, look at someone in the eye and said, you said this was going to happen and you let the team down. That is still, bar none, the most effective way of adopting change is people feeling the friction of person to person accountability. And so at the end of the day, like the hardest problems in business, I would argue, are still human problems. It's not knowledge problems. It's not technology problems. It's not finance problems. It's not strategy problems. It's the human element. And as long as humans are in business, it's going to be a really hard time to completely remove the human aspect of the coaching and guidance that helps people propel forward, in my experience.
I think so too. I think so too. And I recorded a great episode with Cameron Harold, and I'm going to put it in the show notes here as well, because he also, we talked about that. We talked about the change of how it's going to change. So maybe going to for knowledge, you can have it at your fingertips, right? You can type it and you can get it back. But that accountability, that also that peer to peer. I mean, you are
Yeah.
a person who's done that. You
Yeah.
actually you did it. The robot never did it. No matter how much they sound like they did, they never did. They never ran a business. They never dealt with employees. They never did all of it. We have to recognize that the answers you are getting are basically the combination of answers that are out there from other people's experience. But you've been there, you lived through that, you understand what it means to work 80 hours a week, or
Yeah.
starting a business while you already have a 9 to
Yeah.
5. A robot doesn't. So that empathy is also something that is very important, wouldn't you say?
I would 100%. I think humans, I think we like to think that humans are rational beings who sometimes have emotions. The reality is, all the research says that we are emotional beings who sometimes think. And so when you talk about things like AI, you can totally use it as a thinking partner. You can use it as a strategic drafting tool. You can use it as operational leverage, like what we did a lot of. You can use it as like a research assistant. I actually programmed all of my grad school digital textbooks into a custom GTP. So I had every case study, every resource, every strategy textbook I've ever read. It was all fundamental. So I could like at the treadmill at the gym talk to this robot and get a really good perspective. But at the end of the day, the problem is execution, typically speaking, doesn't fail because of bad ideas or bad knowledge or not enough access to that information, right? It's still the people that struggle to execute. So when you start thinking that way, and we realize that at the end of the day, the cap on a business's ability to grow or to succeed at its goals is directly tied to the leader's ability to grow and invest in themselves as leaders, right? Not how well they deploy AI, but how well they show up for the company and the people in the company. That's the limitation every time. And when you were able to actually say, cool, we can pull AI into this, we can do some research, we can do some analysis, we can pull some, hey, what are the leading indicators we're going to look for to prevent this issue from happening in the future? AI is fantastic. 5 stars, highly recommend. I could not imagine working with companies now without the assistance of AI. However, at the end of the day, that's not the execution, right? You take all this knowledge and then you still have to say, hey, we still need productive friction to show up and work together. We still need people to show up, commit to having difficult, risky, daring conversations for the greater good of the company, things that really put the companies first, even if it puts themselves behind. When people are able to do this and have conversations with people they disagree with, there's no job roles, there's no like, well, I can't say this because the boss is going to get upset because he's like massively avoidant. No, like that's not a healthy dynamic. No amount of AI will make that a healthy dynamic. So teaching companies actually how to actually grow leaders through feedback, to have that friction in a sustainable, healthy way, that is, I have not seen an example yet that says that that is not the most powerful form of company development, is growing the people. And when the people grow, the company grows every time. And that's independent of the execution and deployment of AI.
That's exactly right. I mean, I think that's how you empowered also your people in Leveragee, in terms of you gave them the opportunities. So it's not like you didn't. It's just that it's kind of like, those that did rise to the occasion continue to have a job, and even better, they were
Yeah.
paid even better. So absolutely.
Yeah.
The same thing applies, like for myself, we had a conversation in terms of processes. You still need somebody to extract the workflows and understand the workflows, because even if you want agents, you need to AI agents, you need to train the AI agents on some kind of a workflow, but the AI agent is not going to decide on the workflow. They can
Yeah.
execute the workflow and learn on the workflow. But your best practice, like why your company is the best, why you act the way you act, that is so important. Otherwise, all companies are going to be the same. It's going to be like 1984. Like everybody's going to be a robot and going to basically have the same output. But that's not what we want. We want to maintain the soul, maintain the spirit of the company, and that's you. And that is something that has to be extracted from you. What are the best practices? What do you envision? What do you see? And then create the AIs based to execute.
100%. And that's like, I do love best practice groups where it's like, hey, they've got like, here's a marketing playbook or here's a hiring playbook. There's a lot of benefit into taking something that's already been developed and proven by hundreds of thousands of companies and applying it to yourself. That said, the thing that I still love most to this day is when you actually teach people how to lead a business better, not just how to copy paste what everyone else is doing, not just do the same playbook that everyone else in your market or everyone else in the industry is doing. Because when that happens, everything is great when everything's smooth sailing, right? I've got a client, I was texting with them this morning. They've had record revenue in the first quarter. Second quarter is not so great. They're really struggling right now. One of the ways that I work with them in coaching is not just like copy paste the same thing everyone's doing and same steps, right? I want them to learn how to manage a company in a less than ideal circumstance. That's how you learn to grow a business. It's not when things are awesome and you're copying whatever else I told you to do, but when you're learning how to actually, it's the whole, what's the expression? Smooth water, never a skilled sailor makes. I love it when companies are able to show up and make it their process. So because of that, two companies, same market, same service, same target customer. We could say they're the same ICP. If they bring their own skills, passions, interests, passions, values into the company they're creating, into the processes that they're building, into the work that they're doing, they will have vastly different outcomes. Vastly. And that's good. We want diversity. We want people to express themselves because humans are still a collection of people. It's not a collection of agentic machines.
Right.
And so when they reflect the heart and values of the leadership team and the target clients that they're trying to work with, those things are insanely powerful. And so there's no copy pasting, right? There's no, to your point, there's no like, well, the robot's going to give you the same advice it gave the same guy down the street. Yeah, that's why we don't want that. We want your business to represent your business, not everyone else's kind of shaken up and averaged together.
That's exactly right. And that's why we definitely leverage and use AI, but we still need to understand what is our role and where do we fit in.
Yeah.
So Ryan, you definitely help businesses. Who is your ideal client?
My favorite clients are companies that are full of good humans that they're probably going to have like a team of at least 11 in this like AI enabled world. I've got some clients that have less than 11 people on their team but have outsized revenue performance just because of text enablement. But the idea is like probably they're 5 mil and above. They're probably 11 people in the team and above, but they also probably have these traits of like the qualities of people that are just kind of fun to work with. Like they don't like taking shortcuts. They don't want the same advice everyone is happening, right? They're people who like they're always willing to invest in themselves and the team so they become better over time. And they're people who don't necessarily feel the need to micromanage. So to a certain degree, when I had my business, I was working 100 hours a week and every decision came through me and it's debilitating. So people who are comfortable saying they don't have to have all the answers, they don't have to be everyone's go-to, they don't have to put out every fire, and they are aware enough to start pulling themselves back, investing in their people, investing in the process to actually level up everyone. Those people are the most fun for me to work with every time.
Yes. So if our listeners listening right now, they want to get a hold of you so you can help them, how can they get a hold of you?
They can find me just about anywhere. On the website is eightfoldadvantage.com, or depending where they're on social, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, Eightfold Advantage at all the socials. We put out a lot of content, a lot of blogs, a lot of videos. People can go in there and see if they see themselves. Like, do they see themselves in kind of the work that we do? And if they feel like it's worth a contact, there's a way they can schedule just a 25-minute call. It's just a great way for me to get an idea of like what's going on, what are they working with, what's the business that they're trying to create. And ideally, we help them build a business that sets them free, that fulfills their life, that serves their life, that doesn't put them, gosh, I know what it's like to feel like the business is like a prison. You know, like you can't escape from it. You're just like stuck. So yeah, I love helping people get unstuck from that prison. It's fantastic.
That is fantastic. So definitely we'll include that in the show notes as well. Ryan, it's been a pleasure having you on the podcast again. Thank you so much for this great conversation.
It was so awesome being here. Thank you so much for the invitation. Good to see you again. And thank you again, Jeremy, for connecting us, because this is a great human. You do great work. We have clients in common, and I always love when they talk about you, because everything you do, I have full confidence is like best of the best of the best. You just do great work. So thank you for serving your clients well too.
You are very welcome. The same goes for you. Thank you, Ryan.
Thanks for listening to the System Simplified podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.